In Super Doomspire, there are a lot of different weapons. Today, I'm going to be taking all of them and rating them on a tier list. Before we get on with the video, please make sure you are subscribed, or else you are bad. With that out of the way, I'm going to start with the swords. Starting off strong, we have the Home Runner. Yikes. This weapon is pretty good when you know how to use it, but half the time I find it to just be a default spamming the ability. For that, I give it a balanced. I'm now realizing how many weapons there are, so I'm probably not going to be able to give a detailed description for all of them. That being said, next up we have the Brick Breaker. No, just no, awful. On a more positive note, now we have the Dark Heart. This weapon used to be really meta until it got nerfed, but that being said, it's still pretty good for infection, and it's decent for a general sword. I'll put it in balanced. Fire Sword. Not awful for early game, but there are much better options. Mediocre. Frying Pan, on the other hand, is a pretty good weapon. It's really good for infection, and it's not awful for general use. I'll give it a pretty good. This item used to be meta, and everyone was using it, but it got majorly nerfed, and now I don't really see anyone using it. If you do still use it, though, it's not good. I'm even between mediocre and awful. I'll give it mediocre just for the memes. Ice Sword is literally just a more expensive fire sword that doesn't cause burning. Awful. Shadow Blade isn't awful. It isn't good either. I'll give it a pretty good though, because a lot of people use it, and for a reason. It has really good mobility, not the best damage, but still enough to get passed by. Pretty good. It humors me that the default sword is literally free, and yet it's better than both of these two. Mediocre. Tennis Racket. Pretty good for Round Cat Rally, not really good for anything else. Balanced. Want to sacrifice mobility for strength? Get the Great Sword. Now it's time for our next category, the rockets. Starting off, we have Crystal Blaster. It's not a bad rocket by any means, but it's just kind of not worth it for its price. There are better options, but it's not awful, so I'll give it a balanced, maybe even a pretty good. It sticks in balanced. Shadow Dragon is better than the Crystal Blaster, so it gets a pretty good. Arm Cannon. Don't ask me why people use this. It's not good. Stop using it. In fact, dumpster fire. Just don't. Don't use it. Next up, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the default rocket launcher. I actually see a lot of really good people using the default rocket launcher sometimes, because rockets are the only class of weapons that are actually really balanced. Rockstar isn't used for a rocket launcher. It's used for its ability. Pretty good. I see an unnecessary amount of people hating on the scope shot. It's not a bad rocket, and it's really good for early game. I'll give it a mediocre. Hoss Hog. Alright, admittedly I've never seen anyone use this weapon, but its stats look balanced enough, so I'll give it balanced. I believe that's every rocket, so now we're going to move on to bomb. First off, we have the bomb, and it bombs, just like every other bomb. Well, most other bombs. Detonator. It's a pretty good bomb. A lot of good players use it. A lot of people don't know how to use it, but still use it. And it gets it pretty good. Shadow Bomb. Why? Just why? No. Ew. Square Bomb. I mean, sure it doesn't roll, but just like, use a Sticky Bomb or something. I don't know. Sticky Bomb. Just, who doesn't use, in fact, why are these even on the list? Who doesn't use this Sticky Bomb? Tell me. Well, we're almost done with the list. Anyway, time for Super Balls. Bloomerang. If I didn't know about a little exploit that you can do with it, I would put it in the pretty good, but it's so easy to kill someone if you just throw a sticky bomb on it while it's midair. It still deserves a balance though, because it is pretty good for stalling and whatnot. The Coconut. It's a really good Super Ball. In fact, I might even put it in amazing. Its stats aren't that overpowered, and it does take quite a long time to reload. I'll give it a pretty good. The Shadow Shuriken. I mean, only Sweats uses that. That's all I have to say. Paintball Gun. Either you're a really old player or you don't know what you're doing. Slingshot. Either you're a really old player or you really don't know what you're doing. Imagine a Bloomerang, but it can't hover in place. Then again, that makes it so it's harder to throw a sticky bomb on it. I'll put it in balanced. Snowball. Pretty fun to use, but not a very good Super Ball overall. Mediocre. Oh wait, I forgot the default Super Ball. Yeah, mediocre, you know. Lava Ball. Who uses this? I mean, it's not awful, so I guess I'll put it in balance. Everyone acts like the bow is actually a decent weapon. It's not. It's not awful enough to be in dumpster fire, but it's not very good. Awful. Oh, well, looks like this is our last category. Travel. If you use the ball turret, you have no friends. It's a fact.
Get it right.
Bridge trowel. It's meant for one thing and it can't even do that very well. Awful. Trampoline trowel. Try saying that 5 times fast. It's pretty good for stalling, but because I hate it when people do that, I'm putting it at mediocre. Shadow clone. I can find some use for it, but mostly it's just used because it's kind of cool. I'm between awful and mediocre. I'm just going to put it at mediocre so people don't flame me in the comments. A trust trowel is actually pretty good to have equipped for general gameplay. Pretty good. The spike trowel. No. Default trowel. Gets you around. Pretty good. And last but probably least is cage trowel. Do I need any explaining? But that concludes my tier list on every single Super Doomspire item. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe, and leave a comment on what you want to see next. Goodbye.